Joyce enters the physics classroom. Today, she will be talking about speed, distance, and time. She starts with writing the problem of the day. A car is going at 55 kilometers per hour and asks students to draw a diagram indicating where the car will be after specific time intervals. Students begin working in small groups. They talk as they figure out the situation, diagramming and calculating. After this stage, the teacher and the class spend the second half of the lesson together analyzing the problem and finding strategies for addressing it. In plenary, the teacher uses the students' findings to introduce the formula on speed. At the end of the lesson, Teacher Joyce engages the students with questions on how they have collaboratively arrived at the formula of speed. She also invites the students to reflect on how they have learnt and the skills they have acquired in the lesson. Like demonstrated by Joyce, math and science teachers could accompany students in planning and carrying out investigations, finding alternatives, identifying patterns, and making generalizations. This gives students the opportunity to critically analyze the problem and apply their own unique ways of solving it. The bell rings and it's time for the history class. George introduces a new topic, the origin of mankind. In the previous lesson, he had given his students homework that required them to ask their parents and grandparents traditional stories about the origin of humanity. The students have reported back today with the stories learned. In groups, students are asked to identify in each story the roles and features of each character. Teacher George then asks them to compare and contrast the stories presented by the group members. Then, he introduces the stories written in the textbooks for further comparison. At the end of the lesson, learners compose a short narrative where they describe their view on the origin of humanity according to the African tradition. Before concluding, the teacher asks the students to reflect on the skills they have acquired and how these skills have helped them to go deeper in their understanding of the origin of mankind. We use critical thinking not only in school, but also in every aspect of our life, especially when we need to solve problems or make decisions. John completed his secondary school education recently, and he performed well in both sciences and arts. He wishes to do an arts course at the university, but his parents insist he has to do sciences. He is in a dilemma. He wants to satisfy his heart's desire of becoming a journalist, but at the same time, he wishes to have his parents' approval and support. Everyone faces such dilemmas in life at one time or another, and each option has its pros and cons. But how can we be sure we are making the best decision? Choosing the right career path certainly takes time. What the critical thinker does is weigh the pros and cons of each option, but he also needs a criterion to choose between the options. Some of the key questions John has in mind are: what do I like most? What is important for me? Why is this important for me? John has made up his mind, but he has also learned to be reflective before making a choice that will have long-term consequences. This takes critical thinking. But let's see what it is. Critical thinking is skillful thinking involved in understanding the deep meaning of things. It is based on reasonable or good judgment, if you may, that relies on appropriate criteria. As such, critical thinking facilitates solving problems, drawing conclusions, pondering consequences, and making decisions. It promotes knowledge and awareness about the self, the others, and the world. As we have seen in different contexts, the most important skills that critical thinkers possess are information gathering, interpreting, analyzing, explaining, evaluating, and inferencing.